has been made about this $75 million on the miscellaneous tax line, and I just want to make sure that I can summarize, I guess, what we've heard this afternoon and make sure that I have this straight, which is that as the administration and legislative leadership has worked to close the estimated gap for next year, DRS came forward and proposed another tax amnesty program along the lines of one from last year. Am I missing that?
As we heard Secretary Barnes describe the initiative, it's more or less of a follow-up of the other amnesty program that we now are aware of people who had difficulty in stepping up to that program but are still out there, and we'd like to work something out with them.
Right, but that program expired. There was a date by which they had to make their payments, so now we want to continue working with them since we have identified folks out there who could continue to take advantage. And that presumably, and there's been a lot of questions about how the $75 million was determined, but presumably DRS was using the same model that they were using last year, which, if I understood the good Senate chair, he said that that was factored into our budget at about $35 million was the estimate, but it came in at about $190 million. And so if DRS is using that same model and projecting $75 million, it's quite possible that we may see something in excess of that as well. Is that correct?
That's a happy thought.
Representative Becker asked a question that I just want to be clear on, and with due respect to Representative Becker and Representative Woodless, I don't think that that is what my understanding of what Secretary Barnes said is. I don't think that they're using a model from a previous tax collection method or the amnesty program. What I got from Secretary Barnes' dissertation here today was that well, whatever you want to call it, maybe not a dissertation, from my engagement with Secretary Barnes earlier, from earlier today, is that DRS came up with a bunch of new ideas based on information they gathered from individual taxpayers who came forward under the tax amnesty program, and therefore they believe, based on their experience, that they can implement those new ideas and generate up to $75 million in additional one-time revenue through their enhanced collection efforts. So I don't think it's at all, and I know that Representative Becker didn't suggest this, but I don't think it's at all an extension of a tax amnesty program or something that they can use modeling based on their previous experience to come up with. And so it bothers me, and this is not a discussion for revenue estimates, but it bothers me that all of a sudden now we're down from $550 million in surplus to $47 million in surplus, kicked Keno out, so we lost that revenue, and then all of a sudden, after several months of these ideas being apparently talked about over at DRS, voila, new ideas to the rescue, boom, here we have $75 million of new revenue that hasn't been discussed here before, that hasn't been vetted, DRS to the rescue without them having come before us and actually talk to us about what those ideas are. So these are really bad taste in my mouth that we are sitting here discussing this brand new idea that we convened this meeting at, I guess, around 3 o'clock, but 3 o'clock, the day that we're voting on the budget, that's such a big amount of money, which has not yet been vetted, is all of a sudden injected into the budget discussion. It is such a new idea that it was not even touted at the press conference rolling it out. So, I can't imagine that everybody feels really warm and fuzzy about this particular line item in the budget. I got to tell you, it really bothers me. Typically, I would not be voting against revenue estimates because they are what they are. Because of the fact that we cannot feel, or I cannot feel comfortable that these revenue estimates are actually going to come to fruition as a result of the $75 million increase in miscellaneous taxes, I'm going to encourage members to vote no. Thank you.